Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Covert, and I am here today with Sonya Stith Williams and Amy Christian, two of our wonderful violinists from Symphoria. And we can't wait to talk to you about the Bach Double Concerto for two violins. Welcome, Amy and Sonya.
Hello. Hi.
So this piece that you will be performing on Sunday's casual concert, the Bach Double Concerto for two violins. I showed up and honestly, I was like, is this the only one? And you guys schooled me before we started. So Sonya, why don't you just tell us a little bit sort of about the concerto itself, the setup and things like that?
Well, this is a pretty standard in our repertoire, I would say. If you're a student and you've gotten to a certain level, you've probably played this at some point. It's in the Suzuki books, but it's a gorgeous piece. The second movement is gorgeous, and the outer movements are just full of energy. So anytime we get to play it is really a joy.
Mm-hmm. So Amy, have you played this before also?
I have. I played this with orchestra, actually with my teacher at the time for the first time in high school, and I've played it a couple of times since. It's a wonderful piece, and like she said, it's a standard in the repertoire.
How does it feel to return to something that you played in high school as a professional?
Much more comfortable.
Not as scary, huh?
Definitely not as scary, but you always find new things. You hear this all the time, but you always find new things that you kind of never knew were there before. And since it's such a beautifully written piece of music, and the interweaving of the melodic and motivic material between the two violins is so well done in this piece that it's always just a joy to come back to it.
Mm-hmm. I always find it interesting as a musician to go back to a piece I've played before. And someone I knew once said that every time they go back to an old piece, that they buy new music. And Sonya, I'm wondering what you think about that idea.
Well, my secret here is I couldn't find my copy of the music when we went to go to play this. This is truth telling here, confession.
Me too.
So I found I got a totally blank part, and I actually found that really fun this time because you do have stuff that's like muscle memory that you've liked, that you've heard, that you've played before, and it's all kind of up there. But at the same time, I feel like doing something like this that you haven't, or that you've done several times, you can see your progression, over time, that you're like, oh, what if we tried this? Or, why didn't I think of doing that before? And you're always playing it with somebody new too. Amy and I have never played it together. So you're taking this familiar piece and we are playing a duet and we have to get to know each other's playing. What does Amy do? What do I do? How do we come together? And that process is fun because it's so collaborative, and, it's why we play rep more than one time in our entire life, because it's different. It's why we come to live music. It's, you may know it, but we may play it a little bit different than you remember it, and that's what's fun about it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So Amy, what was the process of rehearsal for the two of you? Like, I know that, Amy, you live down close to Binghamton. Sonya lives in Baldwinsville. So were you connecting online, or did you try to get together a couple of times before, before you had a rehearsal for the first time with the orchestra?
We actually did a lot remotely. We shared bowings, of course, to say, well, do you want to be up bow here, down bow there, so that our articulations and our bowings were not matching, but coordinating. And then when we got there, we did play through certain portions of it, that just the two of us, before we did the orchestra rehearsal. But it was surprising how beautifully it came together. in the rehearsal. So.
And this is going to be played as chamber music with no conductor, correct?
Yes.
So how does that change things for you as soloist, Sonya, when you feel like now it's not just the solo part or the concerto part that you're sort of concerned with, but it's everybody's part?
Well, it definitely forces you to listen a little bit more carefully to what's going on around you, which is always a good thing. But it's also given us a chance to hear our colleagues in a different way, where they're also empowered to bring their own ideas. This is a unique piece, we've said before, where every one of those violinists on that stage has played this piece and has their ideas. And now we have to lay those aside a little bit and find something that as a group is unique to us. And I think we did that in a short amount of time, because that's what we had. The pandemic, Amy was talking about how we did a lot remotely. I would say in the past, Amy, we would have gotten together. When we saw each other here or there, we would just play through it. But instead, we share some pictures. And it really forces you, I think, to be spontaneous. Partially, and also to just really listen and respond as quickly as you can. And, I have to, kudos to my colleagues. It was a pretty fast response time, and you'll hear what we put together.
Well, I'm so excited to hear it myself. So Amy, what could you tell our listeners to sort of pay attention to or to listen to as they watch on Sunday?
I'm going to go back and circle back to the way that the two violin parts are woven together with questions and answers, and we have a lot of the similar material that goes back and forth, and it's a very conversational piece.
Oh, well, I, for one, cannot wait. I love Bach. And I feel like there's always surprising things, like things that you wouldn't expect for that time period of music, and which is why he's Bach, right?
I was just remembering, and we were talking about it, Amy and I were, that when I came to the Syracuse Symphony back, I don't even want to count how many years ago that was, right out of college, Amy was my very first stand partner in orchestra. So I guess she was my orchestra trainer. And I remember Amy thinking you were probably 12 because you always look so young. But it's really fun to have come to this point where we're now playing this solo together. It feels, like old friends getting back together.
It does. But I also think that experience of sitting next to each other for quite a period of time really, somewhere in the back of our minds, helped us to know how to respond to each other when we put this piece together. And yeah, we've come a long way, and we're still here. Onward.
Onward, exactly. Well, and I think it's so fascinating, what people might not know is when you share a stand, the string players who share stands are very close, whether they like it or not. And you have to learn how to work together and listen together and turn pages for each other. Like, it's a real symbiotic relationship when you share that stand, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and you get to know each other's fingerings too. We put it on one side or the other side of the notes, and so, Amy, what you were saying is you do get to know how they play and how they're thinking when you share that music stand.
Well, I'm so glad that you guys remembered this, and I think that everyone will be so happy to know that this is a coming together of a very, very long partnership. So I hope that all of you that are watching will enjoy this performance of the Bach Double Concerto for two violins. We can't wait to bring it to you. And Amy and Sonya, thank you so much for your willingness to make music in unusual circumstances and for all you do for our orchestra.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Thank you, Kelly.
And everyone, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon.